Oh man, that intro just gets me every time. Anyway,
very good job.
Welcome back to the Tuxedo and Tomahawks podcast, guys. I know it's been a few weeks since I've been able to put out an episode because I've been so busy flying around the country and doing a bunch of crazy stuff. But today I wanted to bring it back to the episodes I've done in the past where I'm just interviewing interesting people that have nothing to do with politics or anything else, because I'm actually completely worn out over the last year. And I just want to introduce you all to Michael Herrick. Michael Herrick is one of the videographers from one of my favorite bands, Hot Mulligan. And this is, everyone who knows me, I am the emo kid who's in the army. Go figure, right? I am the early 2000s dude. And I know you guys listened to that episode I did with Dana Bolin a couple years ago, and everyone loved that. He's the cowbell guy from Piebald. So, Mike, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I am super excited for what we're going to talk about.
Dude, of course. I'm happy to be here. Happy to break up the line of politicians and colonels with just a kid with a camera.
Yeah, I know, right? So, Mike, why don't you just introduce yourself for everyone who doesn't know you? Who are you? How did you get into what you're doing? And how the hell did you become the videographer for Hot Mulligan?
Yeah, dude. So my name's Michael Herrick. I'm a Midwest boy through and through. A lover of cornfields and Menards in that order. I picked up a camera when I was like 17 years old, when I was working at a bank to pass the time as a bank teller. Then just started shooting shows left and right. And then one thing led to another. And I went on tour with a band called Kayak Jones in 2014. And that was the tour where I met the guys in Hot Mulligan. And then just ever since then, we just like hit it off immediately, like, you know, a decade ago or whatever. And then I've just been their video guy ever since. Lots of tours with them. And yeah, I like accidentally stumbled into making a career within the music industry, just from having friends that can barely sing into a microphone.
So, like, what was it like meeting them 10 years ago? Because, I mean, they were off the radar for a long time. They kind of came around, like, what, 2015? Is that the right time frame-ish? Like, yeah. It must have been really interesting from, like, the Midwest emo perspective of, like, meeting these guys, trying to come up in the world. And coming up in music now is way different than it was when I was growing up. So, like, what was that entire experience like, interacting with those guys when they were first starting off?
Yeah, dude, it was nuts. It was, like, nuts out of the gate. Because we were all like very young. I think I was 19. Yeah, it was December of 2015 when that first tour was. So I was 19. I'm pretty sure that everyone else was like 18. There's a member of the touring package that was 16 years old. So like we were like actual children just going on a full US tour.
Just trying to make like $20 at bars and shit.
Dude, yeah, like playing to like 6 kids, and not even bars. Like everyone was so young, so we were doing like tons of like DIY basement shows, like across the Midwest.
Basement shows are the best, though. Basement shows are where it's at. It's underestimated how awesome
better when you're a sad 20-year-old just sitting in a stinky basement with a bunch of idiots,
like a bunch of natty ice, natty light.
Yeah. Everyone's plastered. No, it was nuts, especially like seeing where we're at now, like in terms of growth in the music industry and whatever.
Yeah.
'Cause we started out like truly not knowing anything, being bad at our jobs all around,
Yes.
and
I
just
love
like
this.
so incredibly poor. Um,
I love this for you.
yeah, yeah, it truly is a glow up. I'm glad
Because
people
it's like
view
you
us
are
as success stories now.
because people in that environment, especially the music industry, like I said, I grew up with like the Dashboard Confessional, brand new crowd, and that was like the underground, and only the cool kids listen to the underground music at the concerts that nobody knows about, that like somebody posts on their MySpace. And this is before like social media was a big thing. And I think the biggest conflict, which is why you're so important to this band that I've seen, is the marketing. Because like now everybody's on Spotify and everybody's making music, everybody's doing this. And I thought one of the funniest things that I kind of figured out, because I work in psychological operations in the Army, right? So when they started branding themselves as the number one hot new band, everyone just immediately assumed that that was correct. You know what I mean? Like nobody knew who the fuck Hot Mulligan was. You know what I mean? Like who the hell are these weirdos from the Midwest? And they're like, oh, you didn't? They're the number one hot new band. I was like, oh yeah, they must be the number one hot new band because they said so. And it
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it worked, and it like took off. Like,
Yeah. Dude, it's so funny. Like to just label ourselves as the number one hot new band. It's the most trite thing ever. Doing it tongue in cheek, and like that is now like the thing that is said after Hot Mulligan is like, oh, they're the number one hot new band.
yeah, you guys didn't know? What a bunch of losers! Like you couldn't figure
What are
this
you
out. Of
talking
course they
about?
are.
Of course, the Midwest emo band is number one hot new band. Playing Bonnaroo. Come on, they're the hot guys.
It's hysterical though, because like their marketing stuff was like genius, like doing that. And also really the going back to like the retro marketing, like, you know, like the old Nintendo, you know, posters and like stuff like that, like stuff to get like my generation integrated with like the new stuff where they still think like the retro stuff from my generation is cool. It worked, right? And then and something you've been a part of, which I want to talk about, is the music videos. I grew up on the era of MTV, and that was, you know, Oasis and like the Goo Goo Dolls, and like, you know, they just had like monumental music videos on MTV, and like that went missing for a long time. And then I
Mhm.
see you, obviously, because I didn't know it was you, integrating yourself into making these like awesome off the wall music videos that were so like emotionally grabbing and really wrapped up into the lyrics and really caught the energy of the band. How did you and talk about like you're bringing up in the videography world, like how the hell did you decide to pick up a camera and start recording this stuff? And then what gave you the inspiration to really come up with that kind of networking design in order to make them such a prominent band on the videography world?
Yeah. Um, I think maybe my first music video was actually for Hot Mulligan. Because it was like I was just a photographer, and then like the last 15 years of media or like concert touring media is just like everyone is everything. We're all like hybrid shooters and shoot photo and video and edit our own stuff. So yeah, they were like, "Hey, does that camera go video mode?" I was like, "Let's try it out." And then like yeah, after a while, I think maybe like a year into our relationship, we got a little bit of money from the awful label we were on. Like I think we
What
got like
label was
maybe
that? What label did they
400 bucks.
start off with?
I could never name the label that was royally screwing us for years. I could never talk poorly about someone in the music industry
No,
like
of course
that.
not. We could never do that.
Maybe we'll offline about that.
Perfect.
Um, But yeah, so we got like a handful of dollars and shot one of my first music videos in like 2016 um, with Hot Mulligan. And it was so fun because, again, we didn't know anything, which I think the video still exists. They scrubbed it off of YouTube because it was so embarrassing. But the plot, we were all like coming up and like, what does this song mean? It's for the song Dairy. Um, and it was like, I don't know what we landed. It was like a breakup story,
Sure.
of
Yeah,
course.
of course.
Didn't have any money to pay actors or friends. So we just ended up like getting the vocalist Tades and then the vocalist and guitar player Chris,
Yeah.
just them making out with their girlfriends for like the emotional scene. So I just have like like
This
a
is
good
so
amount of gigs just of like my good friends as 18-year-olds just making out in their college dorms.
so awesome.
Yeah, very sensual, which is kind of a theme of our music videos the last few years. But yeah, so then that like, I don't know, we got a video out of that. And then I think just through that learning experience, we just kept on cranking on them and we kind of like grew at the same level.
Right.
That like as the budgets increased, I was like learning a little bit more about exposure and how to like make the people look good when they're making out on screen.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And then now it does feel like Hot Mulligan's kind of maybe it's just because I'm doing all of it, but a lot of people reference the music videos. Um, a lot of the music videos and then also the live videos, we've put a lot of
Yes.
time and money and effort into like trying to market how cool the shows are. So like I'm trying to shoot like every one of the biggest shows on every tour, just to kind of be like, yo, look at this hot new band, pretty sick. You guys should come out next time we're in we're in your city. Um, but yeah, now it's cool. It's like a massive beast where we booked like two music videos, so it'll be like 4 or 5 days of shooting coming up later in the year.
Mhm.
Um, and like the budget is more than we started with. We can
That's
do
good.
whatever we want now, you know?
We can
Um,
do whatever we want.
whatever
That's
we
like
want.
that's uncommon in bands, especially today when there's so many. Like the market is so saturated, but you guys have really like put yourself above the fray and really are like defining like the post emo core era that I grew up in the 2000s, which is why you have such a strong following from like my generation as well, which is wild, right?
Yeah.
So like meeting like Tades and Chris and Ryan and Brandon and Jonah and stuff like and doing all this stuff. How did they take that rapid expansion? Because it seems like you said, a bunch of broke guys drinking freaking natty ice in a basement, and now all of a sudden it's like you are literally the number one hot new band. Like, what was that transition like? Especially like you probably went from like recording on an iPhone, and now you have all this like crazy equipment and doing all this other stuff. So like, how did you learn to adapt to that environment as the videographer and cameraman and keep that flow going?
Yeah, it was kind of a weird experience because like I'm like not in the band, but I'm a part of it. So I kind of get some of the elements of like what the fame looks like, and I've been documenting the growth for so long, but I'm not exactly like getting hit with the ego and stuff that happens because
Right.
like,
Yeah.
you know, the band is the cool thing.
Mhm.
Um so it's
So
it's
who's the
it's
coolest
weird
person in
to
the band, Mike? Who,
who's
if
the
you had to pick,
coolest? Who's
who's
the
the coolest
coolest?
band?
Dude, don't make me do that. Don't make me do that to my dogs. Um, it's been weird like the last 5 years because going from like a bunch of idiots that like aren't shit into like selling out pretty solid venues.
Oh yeah.
Um, it's cool because like seeing them like kind of be proud of their craft because like for a long time it was like, oh, you still doing that emo thing? You when are we gonna get our job, guys? Like we got a college degree. Let's go into IT or whatever.
Nope. Keep riding this out. You guys are doing great.
Yeah, it was for a while. It was kind of weird because we all got degrees and whatever, but now it's kind of like come to fruition. So it's a very cool thing to see your friends like develop a healthy amount of pride surrounding like the art that they believed in from the get go, and
Yeah,
like
for
now
sure.
it feels like a lot of the other people in the industry and like fans kind of like understand the scope of what we've been trying to do for a long time.
Yeah, and it's like me. It's like I went to school, did all this other stuff, and it's like getting to learn to actually do what you love to do. It's such a unique opportunity, and I'm so glad it worked out for them because it's like, yeah, man, like I'm a military guy. I went to the Air Force Academy. I'm an engineer and I work in oil and gas. But do I love what I do? Fuck no. I'd rather be on the fucking road with Hot Mulligan, fucking just jamming out, hearing about all my miserable, ex girlfriends or my ex wife or something. Way more fun and way more passionate, And it's just the fact that they get to do that is like so wild. And the caveat off that, like I will tell you the story I was telling you beforehand, like how wild Hot Mulligan shows are. Like I'm like, shit, I got to get in shape for this stuff again. Like I it's like mosh pits and like people throwing tall boys and just singing to every single lyric. And they were here for a headliner show in Denver at like a little bit of a smaller venue, but it was packed. Like there's people like hanging off the walls and like jumping off of speaker boxes and like, doing backflips and shit off stage. And we all get to the front. I think they were playing like SPS or something like that. And all of a sudden, this girl's in front of me. She's right in front of the fence line. And she's like, I want to get on stage. And we're all like, we had a few tall boys in us. We're like, yeah, sure. Let's get you on stage. And Tage is sitting up there and he's like singing his heart out. And we just take this chick and we just shoulder press her. And like me and a bunch of other military dudes just throw her. She went like 4 feet aerial into the air, face plants right on the safety bar in front of the stage and just knocks herself clear the fuck out. And then like Tage like, hey, assholes. Like he stops the whole show mid chord and he's like, hold on a second. Hey, you. Yeah, are you good? Are you awake? You're not bleeding? You're not going to sue us? All right, we're good. And then they like bring her back. Security brings her all the way to the back. They're like, all right, let's keep going. And like what was so interesting was they started exactly at the note they stopped at. And they just kept going like nothing happened. You know what I mean? Because like Hot Mulligan must go on. Like we can't let the one person who knocked them. Yeah, and they just kept going. And it's just like it was so wild. Like it was so funny.
Dude, yeah, and shame on you, by the way, for throwing that innocent little girl onto stage.
She asked us to, and we gave her exactly what she wanted. We didn't guarantee the outcome that you were going to get knocked out on the front of the stage.
Hey, and she kind of got to hang out with the band, right?
Yeah,
that's
the paramedics the paramedics like slapped her in the face a little bit, stand her up, dumped a bottle of water on her. She's like, "Yeah, I'm good, man." Like dragged her to the back.
Oh, cool. The story ends perfectly.
Yeah, but for anyone who's listening to this, if you have not been to a Hot Mulligan show, get online. If you can still find tickets, you got to go to a Hot Mulligan show. It is some of the best music I've heard in a long time. And I'm a huge music critic. Like I said, I grew up in the actual emo phase in the early 2000s when Dashboard hit the venues. And these guys are really bringing back that vibe. And they are really bringing back like music that means something. Music that actually tells stories and about how shitty growing up is and how things can go absolutely wrong. And also one thing I appreciate about the band is the ridiculous names of all of their songs. It's like, I don't know, it's like the jet skis were a bad investment or something, but it's like an emotional story about like their girlfriend dying in a car accident and like trying to come back from that, like something to that effect. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I really appreciate the song names because they're just so unique and so hilarious.
Yeah, you can't be too on the nose. You can't write a serious song and be serious.
What I want to know is like, how do they even come up with some of these song titles? Like, are they just sitting around like fucking off and it just something comes off the thing? Like, SPS. Yeah. Like, was it Soggy Piss Socks? Like, is that? It's like where did you?
There's a list.
Yeah, there's a list.
And one of the rules they have is no, if you say this needs to be a song, it can't be a song title.
That's a good rule. It's
a great rule because there are a lot of people like, I thought of this phrase. And then like,
nope. It's got to come out of nowhere.
You can't be doing that. Yeah. Got to be genuine. In the moment bit.
So like a lot of the videos you've been doing recently, which I think are awesome, are like all the acoustic renditions and from Ho Ho Hot Mulligan, which I need to get to that show. I have not been able to get to Ho Ho Hot Mulligan yet. So because you've done all these really cool, intricate music videos with all your stuff that you've been doing with them. But then all of a sudden, like recently, you guys have been releasing a lot of the stuff from Ho Ho Hot Mulligan. So what made you want to transition to show that side of the acoustic part of all those songs, and how did that differ in your expertise in filming, from previously what you've done?
Yeah, going like shooting the acoustic stuff, we were kind of on the fence about because it's like kind of boring, like from my end, which like to give context on like where that decision came from. We've been doing a music festival called Ho Ho Hot Mulligan for like 4 or 5 years now. And it like started out with just like, I think we played a 200 cap in Lansing, Max Bar, shout out with Max Bar. And then just slowly has evolved into like, instead of 3 bands, we get 5 bands. And then we did like 2 stages a few years back. And then this year we did 2 different dates, Grand Rapids and Detroit. And then at those dates, there were multiple stages. So there's like 20 bands on the bill. So it's like truly a full-blown festival, and like went full out with the production. It's kind of like become less of a Hot Mulligan thing and become more of a Michigan emo thing, which is
Love
like
it. It's great.
got some lore. Like Michigan emo is a
Yes.
big a thing in the Midwest. But yeah, so then going for like acoustic, we were like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Maybe we'll add some like OG songs in the set, because
Yeah.
one of those was from one of the first releases off of Fenton,
Mhm.
which is like very early EP.
Yep. Great album.
And kind of didn't know how that would go like over with a lot of the fans, because yeah, like Hot Mulligan's kind of popped off in the last like 2 years, like with
Yeah.
the Fall Out Boy run that happened.
Yep.
So we're like, I don't know if there's gonna be a lot of fans that are gonna like know the lyrics, they're gonna like tap out for the acoustic part of the set.
The entire
But
fucking audience is singing.
yeah, trust the audience, I
Yep.
guess, because like it was crazy. That everyone was going hard screaming during the acoustic stuff. So we're like, yeah, maybe we should just do like a handful of videos for the acoustic stuff, because they also like don't play old songs like that.
Yep.
Because they're very old and slow and they're not exactly rippers. So reluctantly it got added to the set list, and we also decided to immortalize it on YouTube forever.
Yeah,
So
and
it
I
makes
think
me
it's
happy that people care.
oh yeah, and I think that it's a throwback to the way the old bands used to do it too. Like even like Brand New, even like
Mhm.
Blink 182. Like what they do is they take their really good popular songs and then they make them acoustic later on. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
kind of
like
a
a
throwback
TBS
to that
unplugged
style.
thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Like Dashboard Unplugged MTV. Alice in Chains Unplugged. You know what I mean? Like some of those almost legendary performances on MTV is all the unplugged sets, and I like the hint to it is like basically it's like Hot Mulligan Unplugged, but we're not admitting that that's what we're doing.
yeah. We're
Because
doing our
fuck those
own
guys, we're
thing.
better now, and we're the new ones because we're the number
Yeah,
one hot new
yeah,
band.
yeah. Those guys are old and chuggy. We're
Yeah,
under the age of 30.
like they gave us the idea, but this is totally ours now.
Yeah, yeah. We claimed
And like the newer
acoustic
kids
music.
don't know that. Like the newer kids don't know that. Like they didn't watch like Alice in Chains Unplugged or anything like that. You know what I mean?
What's
But
MTV?
yeah, I know, but MTV is where it's at. But like I said, once again, like going back to the throwback MTV style videos that you do are just great. You know what I mean? Like it really ropes a lot of people in, and like they're so insane. Like what like the death of Eric Sparrow, and some of the newer ones that you're doing, like with the dudes making out constantly, just confusing everybody like what's
Mhm.
going on. Like no one knows what's going on in this video, but it's hilarious. And I can't stop watching. You know,
Dude, truly, yeah, we're
yeah,
that
this
was
is
like the
terrible.
first
I
time our
can't stop
label
watching.
gave us some coins. So we were like, what? Let's just mess around. Let's do something that doesn't make any sense.
It was
And
so
everyone agreed. So we were like, oh, I guess we're really gonna hire 15 gay men in Chicago to make out on screen, aren't we?
yeah. Let's see how many buttons we can push here, and it was
Yeah.
great. It was so well done. It was hilarious.
Dude, I'm very proud of those three, because we did Stickers of Brian,
Mhm.
Eric Sparrow, and then Fly Move, and they're
Yep,
all very different.
very.
And yeah, like I love each one of them. They're all my babies separately.
Wait,
But
is Stickers of Brian the WW like F wrestling one?
no, that's Gans Media.
Gans Media. Okay, yeah, that one's great because that's even more of a throwback to my generation of like the old school like WWF matches with like Stone Cold Steve Austin, just guys going off the top rope. Like I don't know
Yeah.
why this is in this music video, but this is great.
Yeah, it doesn't fit anything.
No,
So the drummer Brandon is like uh yeah, like autistically interested in anything wrestling. Like I'm like, "Oh,
perfect.
WWE," and then he's talking about like all the subs in like the local categories of pro wrestling. So we were like, yeah, maybe we just let Brandon. It was like we made the joke of that it was just a Make-A-Wish video for Brandon. Because then I was like writing the treatment up, and I'm like, yeah, maybe if it's just like all about Brandon training and he wins and everyone's happy because Brandon's the best. And I have so much footage just of him like so excited to just be throwing down on not even doing anything I'm asking of him.
No.
He was just running around, truly being a happy young boy.
That is so funny. You know what? Autistic people make the best music from what I've seen. You know what I mean? So maybe
Mhm.
Hot Mulligan is all slightly autistic. You know, the number one
Yeah.
hot new autistic band. You know what I mean?
You heard it here.
'Cause they are. I mean, honestly, man, it can't compared to every other band that's kind of in the same genre or same thing right now. They're just not touching Hot Mulligan. And I'm not saying that like, to be biased. It's just like I'm very critical of music and how it's being produced, and they don't even touch it. Like it's just you guys just do something completely different than everyone else out there, and it's like so well appreciated in the actual like emo core scene. So
Dude, that's great to hear. There are also like so many, so like Hot Mulligan blowing up kind of in a moment right now, but we came up with like a class of bands that also like kind of influenced other bands that
right,
there right now there's so many good, not even like up and coming bands, but like truly like legendary acts that didn't get the push. Like
yeah,
a Free Throw is it for instance,
yeah.
that
Free
there's a
throw's
band
great.
Free Throw. Yeah, that it's like I don't know, there is so much good new emo music that's happening right now.
Yep.
It's like the industry hasn't pushed it in the same way that it was like the early 2000s.
No, but I think
Um,
Hot Mulligan is kind of inspiring a lot of that push. Like I saw Free Throw in Denver too live, and they were great performance, but way smaller venue. Like, and definitely not
yeah,
people getting thrown on stage and getting knocked out on freaking Marshall stack amps. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just a little different vibe. But you can definitely see that like this entire genre is coming back, and it's like it's got this like underground like cult like following now, and it's like, oh, this is great. This is what I'm here for. I am here for this 100%.
Dude, it's very cool. Yeah,
And also, what I
the
appreciate about
term
Hot Mulligan is how
post-emo.
yeah, post emo, exactly. It's a great. Did they come up with that, or was that did someone else come up
Yeah,
with that?
internal. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was,
that's great. So they labeled themselves. Yeah, we're the post emo. Like, oh yeah, you're the post emo number one hot new band. Of
which is
course.
again the funniest thing to do. Just make up a term that doesn't make any sense, and then now it's like some people are using that seriously.
Yeah,
Oops.
it's like you guys are professional psychological operations dudes. Like that, the way I look at it is like if we just tell this village in Syria that this is what's happening, they're going to believe it. And it's like that's what Hot Mulligan does in the music scene. They just like this. They just confidently say and stand behind what they say, and everyone just is like, "Oh, well, of course, that's exactly what it is."
I like that we're just psyoping a bunch of 15-year-old kids on TikTok. That's what we're
and,
doing right
and
now.
millennials too, because like they don't know any better. Like they're not going to go into the deep research or like probably even listen to Fenton unless they get really deep into it. But it's just like, oh yeah, like of course, this is exactly what they are. And look, they're playing with like Fallout. It's almost like I feel like they tricked Fallout Boy to let them like play with them. You know what I mean? It's just like, dude, if we tell them we're the number one hot new band and we tell them that we're going to bring all these people to the show and we don't even know if this is possible, they're going to totally believe us. And then like next thing you know, idiots, they believe this. And now we got even more fans.
Now we've got a
Losers.
career.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Now
Peter.
now I don't have to use my degree. I could just do this full time.
Yeah, 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 for real. It's cool
And
to
like what
see the love from the older generation. That
yeah.
like it does feel like a lot of like uh, uh older millennials, like they
Yep.
were like emo and whatever, and then everyone moved on. But there's a lot of like 35-year-old dads out in the crowd that are like, I feel this again.
That's what I am. I'm 37. I feel like the same way, right? It's kind of like the
Yeah.
joke about our generation is like, well, we're just going to stick to the Deja and Do and all the same albums we listened to in the 2000s and like never listen to anything else. But it's like, no, I actually have a band that I could put an album on repeat and never get tired of it. And it's new music. And that's very rare. Like, it's very
Yeah.
rare that you can say that. And it's like awesome to see that, like, oh, we have hope. Like, this can go on to my 60s now because I've been playing this out for 20 years. Now I can play Hot Mulligan for another 20 years and into my 60s, and I'm good. Like I can just
Yeah,
live
yeah,
off
yeah.
this. Like, this is totally fine.
It's cool. Not to ever talk positively of them, but I think it is a testament to their songwriting ability that they can like write rippers that every like a lot of people can listen to and like it.
Yeah, and actually
But
that's a
again,
good
they're
point.
also idiots and bad at their jobs. But
Yes, they're idiots and bad at their jobs, but like I
yeah.
said, their music is like to me, it throws back to like that's why Brand New was such a cult following back in the day. I don't know if you listen to like old Brand New, but like those guys are a cult. Like the
Mhm.
way they wrote their lyrics, like Jesus Christ, and like the whole album of Deja and Do and stuff. And even when they released their last one in 2017, didn't tell anybody. They like released it in like code on like some obscure website and didn't tell anyone they were doing it. And it just like created all this like lore on Reddit about like where the hell is Jesse? Where did he
Yeah,
go?
where'd
And
Jesse
like no
go?
one knows where these dudes in Long Island went. Like, and they still but the rumor was, I heard there was a secret show that they did in Nashville and didn't tell anyone about. And someone snuck a cell phone in there and took a picture of them playing like a new song and plus their old shit. Everyone's like, oh fuck, brand new's making a comeback. Like, same thing with like Oasis, right? Like I made the big mistake. I mean, I promised my friends, I said there's only 2 concert tickets I would spend fuck you money on if they ever came back together. And that's Brand New and Oasis. And then this year, Oasis announced that they were doing a reunion tour. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Oasis is going to, like, those 2 brothers aren't going to kill each other on stage. Cause that's what happened in 2009 when they went off the radar, right? Like, they literally like beating each other over the head with the guitars. And yep, I spent fuck you money and I'm going to Dublin, Ireland to see them play on their reunion
Damn, you
tour.
got tickets too.
I
Way
got
to go, dude.
and I got tickets. I don't know how I did this either. Probably because I was using a VPN. I got tickets in New Jersey on the way back. So I'm going to Ireland for like 2 weeks. I'm going to go see them play. And then on the way back, I'm going to stop in Jersey where I'm from, see them at PNC Bank Arts Center, and then I'll come back to Denver. So I got 2 reunion tour tickets in the UK and in the US to go see Oasis this year.
Dude,
and I was like, yeah, I'm going to regret how much
money. An IT guy from pulling that off.
Yeah. Well, when you work in intelligence, you can do lots of weird stuff on the internet. Yeah. So,
dude, I think there's so much lore about you that I have no idea. I knew that you were a military guy, and then I watched the intro, and I have no idea who I'm talking to right now.
Yeah. Well, you should Google me. I mean, not to get political, but like the Department of Defense hates me. So I like, quick backstory. Basically, I went to the Air Force Academy. I exposed a bunch of corruption when I was in college, and then I got taken down by the system. And since I'm from New York, New Jersey area, and I'm like Tony Soprano in that way, like I've spent the last 15 years taking down corrupt military leaders within the DOD and within the government. And that's kind of how this whole podcast started and how I got all over the internet. I'm not famous or anything, but like in that small military circle, like I'm the guy that goes to Washington, D.C. and advocates for this stuff. And like I openly fight congressmen. I was literally fighting one this morning, Lauren Boebert, in out here, because I'm just like, yeah, she's great for certain things, but it's hard to see that. And this kind of goes for us too. It's like, hey man, you know what I want to do? I just want to like raise a family, listen to Hot Mulligan, relax, hang out on the farm and do my stuff and not have to deal with all this like insanity that's going on in the world. And then what I've come to realize is people our age is that I'm old enough to actually make decisions now within the government if I want to. And it's kind of our responsibility to make sure that when my future kids grow up, they don't have to worry about stuff. They're not going to get sent off to some bullshit war for 20 years like I did, and where I lost friends and stuff. I want them to grow up in the environment I grew up in pre 9/11, where it was just like kids just going out, riding their bikes, listening to music, hanging out, setting things on fire, making ramps and jumping their bikes over shit and getting hurt. You know what I mean? Like that's the environment I want America to go back to. And, but if no one else is going to do it, I guess I'm going to have to do it. To go to Washington, D.C. and expose these people. And that's why I appreciate this podcast. Cause for once, in the few months, almost literally the past year, I don't have to do that in this podcast today. I'm not grilling politician stuff. I can like just talk about like how awesome life can be if they listen to Hot Mulligan and just fucking enjoy life. You know what I mean?
Focus on the arts instead.
No, exactly. And it's so funny because, with all the social media and that stuff goes on today, I think kids become so disconnected with reality. You know what I mean? Like, and like, I was going to ask you this, how the hell do they write these lyrics? Like there's some serious lyrics in there. And yeah, we all joke about like the titles are funny, but like it really goes back to a time before social media, the influencing, like where you just had your close group of friends, you're dealing with your close, small town problems. And like, they're bringing back that nostalgia, but they're living it in real time. And a lot of kids get disconnected with that. They're all busy with the Nicki Minaj bullshit or, whatever crap music that's out there now. And they, they're so easily influenced, but like you really like read Hot Mulligan lyrics, like, oh, this is like a serious topic. Like this is some deep, heavy stuff. Like what do you think? I mean, between all of them, like what is their writing process and what is it like to experience that? And then trying to connect it to like making a music video, you know what I mean? Like what is experiencing that process like for you?
It's very cool to see like the idea from like just like an iPhone demo evolve into like a full blown, like when you're in the studio tracking and then seeing how like Brett works with them. Brett's like he's been producing like the last 3 releases.
Right.
You'll Be Fine was the first thing Brett was on.
Mhm.
But dude, it's cool because it's kind of centered around, granted, there's like a lot of flexibility, but like broadly speaking, um, Brandon, Jonah, Chris, Spice, they're like, Spice is Ryan.
Mhm.
They like handle the instruments side of things. So it's like noodly, fast rippers. And then Tades usually handles pretty much all of the lyrics. There's like a handful of songs that Chris has written on a little bit, but it's kind of a separate process. So like Tades handles like all the lyricism, and then Chris like amplifies it to another level with like harmonies.
Yeah.
But they work really well together. Like
It's such a wild combo. You know what I mean?
it's especially to like be in the room and then to just like have like Chris noodling and then like Brandon start picking up a beat. It feels like we're in like a movie where like the guys start in the garage and then it slowly evolves.
Yeah, they're like the Steve Jobs of emo. Like they started in a garage and
The
now they're like
Steve
they're
Jobs
trying to
of
come up.
emo.
Yeah, and they're like trying to come up with like the MacBook One, and next thing, oh shit, we got to sell this and like get a bunch of investors, and like we still have no idea what we're doing. You know what I mean? And like it's just
Yeah.
rapidly expanding, and it's like, oh shit, we got to build like an iPhone or something now. Like, what do we do with this? Like, I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah. And it's interesting, they don't like in the studio, a lot of bands like it's very expensive to get
Yeah,
studio time with like a good producer and good gear. Um, so like a lot of bands like all meet up and then have writing sessions, like whatever in a cheap studio or a practice space or somebody's house. But they don't do that, and they haven't done that for like many releases now. They
Mhm.
write in studio, um,
That's awesome.
which is a
That's like old
crazy
school.
thing.
That's like 70s shit. You know what I mean? Everyone just sit around drinking whiskey and smoking cigars and just like writing music and shit, look like the Eagles and like Don Henley and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just like trying out different things. Yeah, definitely like a crazy process to witness and to be a part of, like seeing the first seed be planted and then like having like kids at shows be like singing the lyrics super hard, to like be a
Yeah.
part of the process to like market this group of guys that I believe in is very cool. Very thankful to have a sick job like that.
So, and like the question I have is like, Tades, are you really this sad? You know what I mean? Because it's like I have a feeling like all of these lyrics have a bit of truth to them, that they're all from like personal life experiences. Like you can't get that with like writing generic lyrics or, some like bullshit country music for the most part. You know what I mean? Like you listen to
No,
these
he's
songs.
faking the entire thing, dude.
Oh, good. I
Happy
would
as
hope
can
so, but
be.
like,
I don't know what he's always complaining about. You know what I'm saying? Wow, sorry about your grandma, Tates.
yeah, sorry, your grandma died. Stop being sad about it. Or your
Oh,
dog.
the
You know
girl
what I
break
mean?
your heart.
Oh, oh, here's a Zoloft. Get over it.
Yeah, come on, bud. No one wants to listen to you cry.
Yeah, but it just brings such a deeper meaning because it's like, there's like I said, it's obviously a bit of truth to all their lyrics and what they're saying because they're just basically talking about their lives and putting it into lyrics in like 3 minutes. Like, okay, that's my therapy. I'm good now. I can keep moving on to the next album of making kids cry and feel emotional, about how
Dude,
shitty
yeah,
everything is.
I'm like listening to funny to just have your bud like bust out some crazy emo lyrics and then be like, "You good?
Yeah, like you're all right. Like, hold on, stop the
I
show.
just listened to what you screamed. Are you doing all right?"
Yeah, we're not gonna go the used, right? You're not gonna go hang yourself or something or like,
Yeah.
cut your wrist
Do
or
we need
something
to
outside.
chat a little bit? We're worried.
Yeah, yeah, we are worried. We're worried about Tades half the time. And like you see, like even the band looking like, dude, you all right? Like
He's doing good. He's doing much better.
that's great. And obviously,
Everybody's in
yeah.
a much better spot than we
Now that's
used to
good,
be.
but maybe you need to make him more sad because otherwise, how are we going to keep getting good music if he's not sad? So maybe like I don't know, steal his sneakers one day. And he has to walk around barefoot for the day outside in the snow. You know what I mean?
Don't get
Who
me
the fuck
started
stole
on
my
this
sneakers?
conversation.
We need better lyrics, Tades, for the next album. So we're gonna make you sad.
Dude, a big part because that's like I don't know, I feel like it's a little on the nose to just like always be writing sad music or like delivering everything like your dog died or whatever. But we've gotten close with the band The Wonder Years.
Love the Wonder Years. They're great.
Yeah, they're the best. But like we've constantly referenced them as a band that grows with their audience, and like Soupy's got a good way of like, I don't know, like it used to be like, when I'm 26, and then now like all of his songs or a lot of his songs are about like his family and like how much he loves his kids, and he doesn't want to die anymore because he wants to have hope in the world, but it's still like delivering it in a super emotional way. So that's been a big conversation of like how to grow with your audience in a way that you're not like trying to be like, oh, what was I feeling when I was 22? But I feel like that doesn't sell well. It's like how can I authentically tell the emotional side of what I'm feeling right now, no matter what it is? And I
Yeah, no,
think we're
I
on the
agree
right
with that,
track.
because even when Dashboard came back and like Chris Carabba got married and had kids, and I've met Chris a few times, I'm surprised at how tiny Chris Carabba is though. Like I'm 5'11", like 250, I'm in the army, and he's like 5'4" and like 80 pounds. Very tiny man.
I love
It's
you.
weird. Yeah, I love you. And he's like, please, this guy's gonna throw me around, like a rag doll. I'm like, no, your music's awesome. You know what I mean? But like Chris did the same thing. Like Chris started like, writing songs about, him growing up and becoming a dad and all this other stuff. And same thing with Andy McMahon and The Wilderness, who, obviously was the lead singer to Something Corporate. Same thing. He started writing about like having kids and stuff. And like, it just really like you said, you're walking with your audience as you moved on. And have you heard Steva, the new like acoustic solo guy? He's very interesting. So he put out like a little TikTok the other day about how don't try to be famous. Always stick with your core audience that you came up with, and always keep telling stories to them, because they want to know how you're doing. They want to know how you're growing up in your music and everything else. And like that's like even Yellow Card, they did a reunion tour. Like all the bands I grew up with doing their 20-25 year reunion tours now, right? And and what I'm seeing that they'll play the old stuff. Obviously, everyone loves that shit. But what I really appreciate, kind of like what you're talking about here, is transitioning their music to showing about how they're developing and growing and everything else. And it's such a good, homage to the core audience that supported them all the way through, but also keeping the music fresh and in the minds of everybody, and keeping it going with that creative process.
Yeah, which is cool because it is like stretching you continually. And I think like
There's no end in sight, right? You can
real
still write.
recognizes real, you know?
He can write about getting Medicare and Medicaid when he's 72 at this rate, and how much that sucks, and how much nursing homes blow.
Man, what a weird world that'll be when we're all in nursing homes and still listening
Chris is out there noodling on his fucking guitar and just pissing off everybody else who's just trying to take their afternoon nap.
Yeah. Like, what tuning is this?
Did you guys call the mosh pit at the hospital? Yeah.
we could arrange that. It's in our future.
So how do you you see this creative process when they're writing all these lyrics and stuff, like, and you have to keep your videos different. Like you always got to change things up because you don't want things to be the same all the time. How do you, as the videographer, how does your creative process work in adapting to the lyrics and growing with the band, as we just discussed?
Yeah. It's changed quite a bit over the years. That I guess it's cool we're talking about Hot Mulligan, because that's like I like, they're my day ones, and like this is why I'm shooting, is because I've been with Hot Mulligan for a long time.
Right.
Because I'm just at a point in my career right now where I don't have enough time or like mental energy to write creative treatments for everybody, like all the artists that I'm working with.
Yeah.
You don't, I don't know, you can't like put out like 5 videos a month and have everyone like touch the hearts of the audience in the way that you want it to.
No, they just won't be good quality. You got to keep them like exclusive and good. And I think you do that very, very well.
That's great to hear, because I've really tried to just hammer in all of my creative effort when like there is a rollout happening, towards like thinking through very specifically on like what's happening in frame, what do we want the viewer to like to get out of this. And then it's also like such a collaborative process. it's gotten away from it a little bit now that everyone's like getting their own careers and doing a bunch of different stuff with music. But I'm like constantly talking to all of the band members on like, what do we think about this? Any ideas on that? Like the month or two leading up to any production, like video production, I'm like talking to Tades and Chris like every single day, just to be like, what do we think about that? Is that too on the nose? Yeah, maybe we introduce this element. Maybe we get a cameo from someone that we bring in as a funny like nod to 2012, like whatever.
Yeah.
Which I love. That's why I started doing video production, was like the collaborative element with the artist, which sadly I've gotten away from, like outside of Hot Mulligan with the rest of my career.
Yeah,
Because
I
a
was
lot
gonna
of artists
say,
are like, yeah, like you're the video guy. Think of a video guy, which is cool
yeah,
because that's like my job and that's what I get paid for.
yeah.
Um, but I give much more of a shit when the artist gives a shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's
Um,
actually really noticeable in your creative process and how you do that, is because you can tell when it's like even old Green Day videos. It's like, all right, yeah, the guy sets up these camera angles and does whatever for like Dookie, but it doesn't seem like the artist is engaged in the video. It just seems that like the video is just being recorded by some other random guy. But like it's almost like when I watch your music videos, I feel like I'm there. Like I feel like I'm hanging out with the band and I'm holding the camera, and like that's such a unique perspective that I rarely see in everything else, versus like, oh, people are zooming out for the choreographies, or they want to show the dancers, they want to show this. Like you bring like, I'm with the band hanging out with them having a beer right now. Like I'm in the show. Like you
Dude,
feel
that's so
part of
great,
that
man.
band. Yeah, no, it's
Thank
it's
you.
it's like it's a very unique perspective. I feel it's almost like combat cameraman, like the guys running around with the infantry dudes getting shot at, like, oh shit, this is intense and mortars are going off. This is like super cool. I'm like right here. That's the feel I get with like the way you film your music. And it's like I said, it's so unique in how you do it. And it's just like you don't see that anywhere else. So and
That's
the
like a
cool part,
frustrating thing to like walk into, like in the industry, is that the norm is that you can like hire that out. Because I
yeah,
think, I don't know, if it's
don't
your
hire
art
it
and
out.
you're creating something, you need to like be like, granted, you're not going to be the cameraman, but you need to be a part of the creative process behind that. And I do think over time, like people can tell if the artist does care. And like that's something I try to do on all of my sets, is like include the artist with every
Yeah.
step of the process. That it's like, you're not the producer, you're not the DP like on camera, but I want
Mhm.
you on monitor as soon as I call cut. I want you to like look at what we're doing. Like, are we all on the same page of what that's going for? And I kind of feel like that's why I've had success in the music industry, is that like it's very hard to find someone that cares. Um,
100%.
yeah, both like from artist side, label side, and then like as a director, I feel like that's my strength, is that I care about the artists that I work with, which
And it's like,
is
and you mentioned
beautiful
about,
to be a
yeah,
part
for
of.
sure. And like it's like you mentioned before though, is that like the band, even though that you said like their egos have inflated a little bit as I've gotten like people actually give a shit about the number one hot new band that they've labeled themselves as, but like they are still humble. They remember their roots. They know where they came from, and they still like want to invite you out to hang out with them. And like you're not like, oh, you're the director, we'll call like tomorrow. It's like you're hanging out with the band and doing stuff with them all the time. And like they've maintained being humble and wanting to be part of that creative process too, and making feel like everybody's part of this production, like as a big family that's like, hey guys, I don't know what we're doing, but we're going to make this work. And it
Yeah.
works. You know what I mean?
And that
Like
kind of
you
goes
don't
with like
see that.
the Midwest emo ethos.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to
Hanging out in the
have a
Menards
massive,
parking lot.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
you're all
not,
just
yeah,
hanging out in the Menards parking
Menards,
lot.
Menards, Menards. It's hard to like within like the country music industry, there is like a bit more of a separation, but like Midwest emo, punk, hardcore, like it truly is all about the process. And I think humility is a big part of like the creative walk in like making an
Yes.
LP or EP, any type of art. Um, I think that's why it's my favorite. That's why I exist within this industry. Is I can't do ego
Yeah, and like
whatsoever.
I'll
Like
give a
ruin
perfect
the fun.
example. No, I'll give a perfect example of that, because like I listen to some country music because I'm forced to, because I live in Colorado, and I didn't even know what country music was until like I moved out west, because I'm from the East Coast. I grew up in the emo, alt rock scene, but like like there's a like Zach Bryan, perfect example. Like this kid grew up in the Navy, 2009. Like that's when he started doing his music. And if you actually watch some of his really early shit, it was him and his friends driving out to a cabin in the middle of nowhere with their video camera and like recording him playing or doing some like really solo, like serious stuff. And it's like, man, I really connect with that because it's almost like emo with a twang. You know what I mean? Like Zach Bryan's a storyteller, and like him telling how terrible of a boyfriend he was, or all these tragic things that went on with his mom. It's like, yeah, this is like emo but country. Like this I can vibe with. But then you see he got super big and got a big fat head and then broke up with his girlfriend, and then he got bought out by the record companies and then started doing all this like commercialized bullshit. And I'm just like, man, I'll watch your old shit from 10 years ago any given day. Even like Jason Aldean was the same thing. Like Jason Aldean back in the early 2000s, 2005, 6, when he came out with like Wide Open and stuff, really true to heart. Like he wrote his own music, everything else. And then after a while he sold out. And then like, you know, everyone else was writing his lyrics and he's just a guy there to strum a guitar and read someone else's lyrics. And I don't ever foresee that happening with Hot Mulligan. I think if they ever got to that point, they would just quit because it's not about you telling a story and you just basically making a song and a video about your life. It's now you're just doing it for somebody else. And that's what I appreciate about Hot Mulligan is that they're staying true to their cause and they literally don't give a fuck about what anyone thinks about them. And it's working and it's working so well.
Yeah, for better or worse.
For better or worse. Like it's not all, you know, it's not all positive, but like it works for the music and connecting with your core base for sure.
Yeah, which is cool because it's working. Like everyone is on board. There are just a lot of new fans that are excited about an artist, which is hard to make happen.
It's hard to pull them in, right? And I think even after like a post-COVID environment, right, you know, where everyone was isolated and everything else, and nothing was really going on, no concerts, no shows, is that they're bringing back like that real taste of life, and like concerts are fun again. It's not like, shit, I got a $40 ticket, I'm going to go to the show, we're going to hang out for probably half the time and leave. It's like, no, I want more. Where is the other encore? No, play another encore. Like that's something I see uniquely at Hot Mulligan shows is that people want to be there. They want to stay for the whole show. They want the full experience. It's not like generic. Actually, it was really funny. So 2 years ago, when I came back from deployment or whatever it was, they played at the When We Were Young Fest, which they need to get on that bill every single time because they honestly had one of the best sets out of anyone, even the headliners. And I think Blink-182 and Green Day were headlining the show. But you know, Hot Mulligan's playing in the middle of the afternoon, right? But like they show up and Tates immediately gets on stage like, I can't even say the title to this song because it's talking shit about the band over there, which sucks. And he's like pointing out the main headliner stage, and then they just start going off. And all of a sudden, like there's like 6 stages there, and 4 out of the 6 stages just converged on the Hot Mulligan stage. Because it wasn't like a bunch of guys just hanging out, playing their 3 songs and getting off. Like they were trying to cause a problem at the concert, which almost makes me like, is that why you guys didn't come back last year? Because you guys invited? Because they were talking shit on all the other bands, and it was so funny. It was hilarious.
Dude, it's like a PR nightmare.
They're like All American Rejects. They're like, yeah, get back in your wheelchair. Anyway, here's Green Squirrel. You know what I mean?
It's cool that it is like I'm a big fan of like punk being problematic. Like I like that they're making waves. That it's not just politely. A thumbs up from everybody in the crowd.
Yeah, they just piss people off politely, and then no one knows where it's going, and then all of a sudden, you know, Tage is racking his hair over the microphone stand.
Yeah. Everyone leaves very confused. But appeased.
Pleasantly, but satisfied. I'm confused, but I don't know what just happened, but I want more. Keep the audience guessing. You know, it's like keep the audience guessing here.
Yeah, dude, and it's been like that for so long. Because like in the early days, there was like when they weren't headlining, there was like doing a lot of small venues where there would be like walkout after they ended their set, and like kids would just be going ape shit in very small venues that be like, this is very cool to be a part of, but I would not want to own this venue because you will get sued. Like kids are just have been going off forever.
Yeah, it's like Hot Mulligan's like dealing out their own fentanyl for these concerts. You know what I mean? It's like they're just slightly addictive, and this should seem illegal. But we're gonna do it anyway. And then Tage just reaches into his pocket and throws out another handful of drugs to the crowd. You know what I
That's a
mean? Like
great analogy.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of like the vibe I get with him. Is just like we're gonna give you a little bit, and I know you want more, but you have to go to the next show, which will be at this venue over here. Buy tickets, and it
yeah,
works. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Emo Fent. Yeah, that's great.
Emo Fent. Actually, that you feel free to use this, guys, as long as you let me backstage with you all the time. I don't care. It's just Emo Fent should be your next song, and just make sure you give Mike a little head nod to that from this podcast.
I can't do it
when you
now.
oh yeah, we're not allowed.
Rule,
You're not allowed to have ideas. We totally don't want you to make a song called Emo Fent. That's the stupidest song ever.
Yeah, no one would enjoy that concept.
No one would ever even go. So like, another thing I saw too is like they started getting international gigs and stuff too. Like they started expanding outside of their the Menards parking lot. What has that experience been like, going overseas and going to other countries where people are doing the same thing? Like that's got to be a wild experience.
Dude, it's actually I'm going I've got a family, so I try to keep my stints small now that we're going international. But we got 2 dates in the UK that I'm jumping on. So I'm going out to Slam Dunk for the first time international in May or something. So insane though to see that happen. Like I've made friends with Hot Mulligan fans in Germany, like all over.
Germans love that shit.
It's weird. Like, yeah, like, wow, you guys sold out a 1,000-cap venue in Germany? What?
Hell yeah.
That's crazy. That was like a big like it clicks moment of like, oh, things are going well. Like
yeah,
you can
no, for sure.
Venues in a lot of the continents. Like same with like
didn't they go to Mexico? Didn't they go to like New Zealand or Mexico too?
Yeah, like they did New Zealand last year, and then in a handful of days going to all of Latin America. So like they sold out Brazil, like the big thing of like come to Brazil. They are.
Brazil's
they
wild,
sold out
like
immediately.
Yeah, Brazil, like they're like the biggest dashboard confessional fans I've ever seen, and they're all like from Brazil. Like, you know what I mean? Like
really? That tracks a bunch of
out, like,
emos down there.
yeah, it's wild. It's crazy. It's like you wouldn't think it is, but it is. Like that entire South American continent is like 20 years behind in history. So they're still like on their first early 2000s like album still. They're like discovering
it's
it right
very
now.
Convenient for us. Thank you, Brazil.
Yeah, it is. No, it is. Like I was in Peru last year, and it was just like that's what they listen to. Like it's so funny. It's hilarious. I love it. It's like going back in time. It's great.
Yeah, keep it up.
So what's next for Hot Mulligan? Like where you said you're gonna go to Slam Dunk here in May, but like where are you moving with Hot Mulligan next, and like what's the next big thing that's upcoming for the band?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm in the position to discuss future plans.
We want to know the tea, Mike. Where are they going to be so we can stalk them?
I just love that someone from the band is going to watch this and be like, why is Michael talking about anything? He's not even in the band.
He's not allowed to. He's not even in the band.
Yeah. Just management is going to call me as soon as this releases. Like, what are you doing?
This is great. I actually want to keep this relationship up. Keep it going.
Yeah. It'll be a good couple of years.
Good. I'm excited to hear it's gonna be a good couple of years. Yeah, tell them they got to get back on that When We Were Young ticket though, because I go to that every year in Vegas, and they did such a good show there. And I just love how they talk shit to all the older bands when they're there, and they just like mic drop and walk off the stage, and like everyone's just like following them wherever they go.
Dude, start spamming them for 2026 when we were young. It can happen.
Yeah, no, for sure. Dude, I love this conversation. This is probably one of the more fun podcasts I've been on in a long time. And I really appreciate you coming on this show. And I'm glad we're like Instagram friends now. Like we could just, talk music and talk shit and, whatever else in the background that's going on.
Just start sending you memes.
Dude, just send me memes. That's all I do is send memes. Actually, my social media person was like, you need to stop posting so many memes because you're pissing everybody off, talking shit about the government. I'm like, fine, I won't. No, yeah, but no, this is going to be a great episode. I'm really looking forward to releasing it. And Hey, next time you guys are in town, if I buy tickets, I'm 100% messaging you and be like, hey, I'm here at the show. Let me in. Let me in.
Dude, we'll for sure guest you and get you in the green room so you can have some healthy discourse with the band.
Dude, I would love that. And once again, whatever you guys need too, I'll podcast the entire band. I'll let them come on, and they need free marketing. I'm here for you guys, whatever you need.
Cool. I'll pass along the word.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, man. And once again, I love this conversation. I'm excited to release this episode. I'm gonna start working on it now. And thanks so much. Any other things you want to talk about before we head out after the hour?
Man, no, we were this was probably the most thorough conversation I've had about Hot Mulligan and my relationship as their video guy.
Dude, you got to respect the people that support. It's like I always tell people, the U.S. military is absolutely worthless without their support units that nobody talks about. And if you don't have food and planes and fuel, you can't fight anything. And you're the guy, you're the support guy that's bringing them to make them look cool. You know what I mean? Rangers and special forces and fighter pilots don't look cool unless their stuff actually works. And you're the guy that makes everything work. You know what I mean? Like you're the guy.
Yeah, I'm the support battalion.
Yeah, you are the support battalion. You should relabel yourself as that. So, Hot Mulligan support battalion. Make a hat. Just put it on there. You know what I mean?
Everyone's gonna be confused.
Yeah, no. So, any life advice, anything you could say to the audience about, like, if they want to be a videographer, they want to get into the emo scene, like, what's the best advice you could give them?
Yeah, I think as far as like a music video directing, a lot of people want to get into it, and a lot of people are trying. I think you got to set yourself apart by like either like work ethic or just like refining your creative style, which is just many years of failing publicly. So I don't know. I'd probably say work harder than what you think you can do. That was kind of what my early 20s was, of just one dumbass trying so hard at something and failing. But now that I'm in my later years, I'm very happy with the work ethic that I had earlier on. It's given me a nice platform to do what I want to do now.
That's great advice, man. That's what I tell a lot of people is, when shit gets hard and you're constantly failing, that means you're only finding another solution, and not giving up on yourself, and pursuing what really makes you happy, and doing things that, bring joy to others is so important. And that's the only way you can do it, is, relying on yourself to do that, and your family and everything else. And I think you're a product of that environment. You failed horribly and you've succeeded wonderfully in the process of doing that.
Yeah. Just work your little tail off. Even in the creative space, you don't have a cop out. You also need to be a Marine from your work ethic.
That's great. Well, once again, thanks so much. And I'll stop the recording here, but hang on for a second before we head out. But once again, this is Michael Herrick on the Tuxes and Tomahawks podcast with Adam Dorito. And thanks for showing up for the show today. That was great. That was awesome. Thanks again, guys.